Stratvia, Moscow. Here we are at the TAS studio in Moscow. Let's say we are the international arm of the National Unity Club. I'm side by side with the one and only George Galloway. So today we are interviewers at the same time as well in Moscow. This is quite an honor. And we have an outstanding guest, Mr. Mikhail Delyagin, economist, politician, member of the Duma, former advisor to several prime ministers, and sanctioned to death. We were just commenting on Mr. Delyagin sanctioned by the EU, by the US, by Canada, Switzerland, everybody, which is a fact of life when you are a prominent Russian economist and politician. Mr. Delyagin, thank you very much for being with us. It's an enormous honor for us. Two possibilities for the post-UN era, considering that UN as it exists today is practically dead, and everybody agrees on that. So could we have a sort of loose BRICS association congregating the most important countries of the Global South, and then the Global South would look at BRICS as the embodiment of the new United Nations? Or could we have on the other side a sort of techno-feudalist, very concentrated power regime based on artificial intelligence, and it will be controlled essentially by American big tech? And they are working towards that because they want total control. Do you see the opposition as we advance now along these two, I would say, formally completely opposite poles?
It's a principle, different levels of influence. Completely different levels. At the state of at the level, yeah, we have bipolar world, and we don't have the leader in any bipolar world. And bipolar world will exist and will develop. And BRICS would be a way, a method to stand against America without strong dependence on China, because they will have Russia, India, Brazil, and other states, Iran, that will hold Chinese interest. And this system has already laid its foundation. It's there. Because at the level of state we have Mr. Macron had to take out the power from the old French aristocracy. They, because they were standing against Macron's owners, the city. So somebody was trying there to give French Africa to Americans, to take away the political base for his opponents. And when Americans couldn't take it, then Russia got into it in that story. And this is the illustration of how small political interests bring major economical events. This is why France stopped being a great state. They always had a hidden resource. Now they don't have that hidden resource. They have Charles de Gaulle, the aircraft carrier, but they cannot supply anything to it. But at the higher level, these are technologies. The states will be preserved, but they will greatly depend on technologies. How the world will be divided. And the world will be divided if you have your own social platforms, your own ecosystems to feed your AI. During the industrial times, for the sovereignty, there was industrial military complex and science. At the times of the trading markets, from 90s to 2000, we have to imitate the currency according to your needs. Now there's another currency, AI, which is greatly developed because it has its own social platforms where it is studying. It's hard to study on other platforms. So that would be United States that has its own AI. It would be China. They have their own AI. It would be Russia that has its own AI. We have no use for it, maybe. We're still learning how to do that. It would be probably India. We don't know how the society is built. We see nice people, but how do they work? What is their mind about? What is their real life about? Europe will not have its own AI. They don't have their own social networks, platforms. A best way to call it, it's a good old ancient museum. And Great Britain cannot win this war. They takes the titanic attempts to establish the control after Arabian world, to create the Turkish world, and a global political. It's it comes the English language. It's their project to destroy the civilization and to create new civilization. But nevertheless, this technological weakness will take over England and will not let it allow it to develop. So the power is not there as it was in the British Empire. So the world government will not exist. It will be a harsh opponents based on cultures between different realities of AI, of their zones of influence. And the war between the zones will be included to taking out somebody else's culture. So you cannot feed the AI on something, raise AI on something. Today's fight West against Russia concerning us that started in 2014 in a very clear form. It was an attempt to take out Russian culture, not to create Russian AI, Russian-minded AI.
How important, with your great knowledge and erudition, how important is the individual in history? I'll tell you what I mean. If not for Vladimir Putin, it's my theory that Russia would be nothing like as significant in the world today and might not even continue to exist as a singular state. In other words, I'm saying Putin saved Russia, picked it up, dusted it down, and restored its strength and its dignity. If I'm right, it follows that if Putin had fallen under a bus 25 years ago, we'd be looking at a very different world.
Russia. Yeah.
What do you think?
Because you see, I believe that, I don't know about the bus, but he was born to fulfill the function. And maybe somebody else could have done it, but a worse job. I remembered while you were asking questions, the end of 90s, then there was no other alternative. Mr. Primakov, with whom I worked, he was a person all his life dedicated to be a general secretary of a communist party. He hid it for a long time. He didn't show it. But when Soviet Union fell apart, he was going towards it. It was a good end of his life to become a president. In the end of 90s, he had an opportunities because Putin then was a young man, a director of FSB, a very unusual condition. Maybe if you remember, at one international meeting, somebody asked who Putin was, and the experts from Russia couldn't answer. They couldn't. They were not afraid. They just couldn't find an answer. And he was already a president. But then Mr. Primakov was a very wise man. He had a great experience, and he could have won then in a political fight, but he refused to fight. And when he was asked in a private conversation why, because he said Putin would be a better president than myself. That was a very, very valuable. He was very wise man of the epoch in our country. He said that Putin would be a better president than himself. And he removed himself. He announced that he will participate in the presidency, but then he thought and then he refused. That was not a fear. That was not being tiredness. He was tired. It was not. It was he understood a different picture. It was that he admitted that Putin would be a better president for Russia. Until his death, he was his ally, his advisor, not just the political information, but everybody knew about that. Вообще.
It's fantastic, Mr. Delyagin, that you remind us of the great Yevgeny Primakov, because at the end of the previous millennium, he was already foreseeing RIC, the Primakov triangle, as the nexus and the focus of Eurasia integration. He was the first one they actually saw it ahead of anybody else. What we are living now is a declination of the Primakov triangle. We can add Iran, becomes a quartet. We can add Indonesia, becomes a quintet. But that's the concept of the future of Eurasia is Eurasia integration in all its areas. And could that be maybe the embryo of Eurasia integration becoming the embryo of a new system of international relations?
I wish it would happen just like you said, but we see the level of today's Eurasia integration on the example of Iran almost was taken out by these protests. Yes, they were stopped because of Russia's help and Chinese help, not just one. It wouldn't be enough. It had to be two, because we had technologies and China has masses. We stopped them. But in the strategic perspective, soon there will be a dead end, because internal life is completely monopolized. A lot of youth, they have no future, they don't have any nerves, and they don't have wisdom. And nobody has advice to give to Iranian head, so that you need to look at the economy. Economical system that is there. That you have to give to the youth strategic system. And then they would take away from the streets to do what industry brings, because any conflict you can stop, but you cannot take away the future from the people. Unfortunately, after Raisi's murder, we don't see the situation that somebody would advise a right culture for the Iranian leadership. Integration is how to get higher, how to get better. Integration as we saved Kazakhstan in January 2022. And we saved Kazakhstan. And after that, Kazakhstan selects Great Britain now. We see that there's a threat that the third front would be opened there in Kazakhstan. Yes, there is such a threat. And everything is changes for Takayev not to raise his authority. But nevertheless, we could have helped. We did help to Kazakhstan leadership, and that's the operation that have not been seen at the Eurasia sphere.
George?
You carefully, I assume, used the word Raisi's murder. I agree with you. But that's not officially acknowledged. If he was murdered, who murdered him and why?
And this is something that the Iranian government refuses to acknowledge and to dig deeper and even encourage debate about it in Iran.
You know, internal Iranian politics is very difficult. It's truly democracy. I don't really know how it works. Because I belong to another culture, it's hard for me to comprehend things. But it's truly democracy there. And it's very difficult to say the truth. Because it would shake the internal balance of the country and the outer balance. Because for 70 million people or more, outer influence is not less important than inside. But we don't know who killed Kennedy. We don't know what happened to Stalin. We truly believe that Roosevelt died from that he was very tired. This is all a big laugh for all of us. That's for the most important leaders of the country. So there's official politics, there's non-official politics. Truly, there it is. The Great War has never, you said it yourself, did not declare war against Russia. The most effective war is the one that was not announced. I think in 1909 they had that in Great Britain, political war terminology. Political warfare, that meant having the military actions with all strength except for military actions. Take out your enemy with all the strength except the military. It was many, many years ago.
If you allow me, Mr. Delyagin, Kazakhstan, absolutely key, because they are a BRICS partner. No, full member of
Full
partner.
member now, yeah.
They are full member.
I think.
I have to remind. No, they are They are not a full member. They are partners just like Uzbekistan, the two from Central Asia, Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan. Okay, BRICS partner, member of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, close relation with China and Russia, and at the same time, they are practicing what they describe, including starting with the Nazarbayev era, multi-vector policy. Does that mean that they are playing both sides and planning to get away with it? And do the Russians and the Chinese see clearly how Kazakhstan is hedging its bets all the time?
Multi-vector policy, it's not trying to choose. It's starting to take over all the chairs. It's not just sitting at the fence. You can go either left or to the right. You know, it's you trying to take all the chairs that are possible. Yes, Russia and China see that, but Russia is connected to the SVO. China is having problems standing against America. They have to take away Taiwan on an internal political reason. So China understands very well that Taiwan would be appeal because Taiwanese don't like Chinese. But in reality, again, we have this fairy tale in our heads about the duck, that there is an egg, that it has a chest, that it has a needle. When we speak about that, what is the key to Eurasian integration? We can start from the Kazakhstan, that is a duck. The key, it's the mountains of Tajikistan, that mountain range in Tajikistan. The one who would having this control over these mountains, they influence on greatest process in the whole Central Asia, as they say. Mountain Badakhshan, after Soviet Union was lost, and as I understand, still it's in British hands. The rest is what follows. And I look at the Eurasian integration, whether I'm holding on to it. It's a very different countries with a different systems. And the most difficult world order. It's very hard to talk about those ways of transportation, about logistics. So it's so there in the inner circle as a nod.
Well, here we are on the 4th anniversary of the NATO-Russia war, otherwise known as the Special Military Operation, sometimes known as the Ukraine War. But the proper nomenclature is the NATO-Russia war. Are you surprised that it's lasted so long? And when do you think, and how do you think it will come to an end?
I'm not surprised that it lasts so long. When though it started, I remember it was at the nighttime. I was behind my laptop, my computer, and I was going to go to bed. And suddenly I saw the news that we have started the military operation. There was a notification. And over 40 minutes, I was just sitting before the laptop, and I was kind of like caught in my thoughts. Because no war goes as it was planned. It's a law of the war. You can have a great local special operation, but if you have a deal with a huge conflict, something goes wrong. It's unavoidable. And I understood that it would be very difficult, it would be a horror. I thought I died. 40 minutes, I couldn't do anything, I couldn't move. After that, I have sent a message to our officers to wish them good life and success. Went to bed, woke up 11:30, broken. Completely different person. It will finish when we begin, when we will start hitting our opponent with a huge blow, when they'll start losing more than they can afford, when it will stop, that it would stop to be a legal source for the West to make money. Otherwise, they'll start losing money there. So what we have to take out the intellectual law that concerns sanctions and other things. It's a very serious steps that would be made. It would put us into the center of the engineering arts and other things, and it greatly influences to our country. There will be a subject then for negotiations, because the loss would be not just for us but also for opponents in every field. What economical model we have now in Europe? They took our cheap raw materials, they worked on it, gave it a quality product, and they sold it to China. Now this model is broken because those people who started the war, the financial speculants, they made Europe to refuse from our cheap raw materials. They couldn't do it till the end, but still they're pressuring. And due to the Chinese development, they need less products from Europe because they already do all those products themselves. A new Mercedes has an engine from Geely. All you need to know about the future of Germany. It's enough. And over a year or over 2 years, these Europeans, they were in a horror state because they did not have economical model. And when Merz came in, that's the first time in the history when Great Britain controls Germany. That never took place before. Merz, English politician, he came and they have a new economical model. The debt of Germany goes as high as Italian debt. This money was sent not only to modernize American military complex and to bring immigrants, but also to develop military complex. First of all, Germany, and then Europe as a whole. Then they militarize. The worse Europeans live, the better, because they have they have no work, because the person who can do a real job, a real family, you cannot take him to soldiers, right? They don't want to go fight. But when there's no job, no family, it's an easy deal. And then next thing, in about 3-4 years, they will be in a position where they have to fight somebody, attack somebody. If we will be weak, they will fight us. If we will be strong, they're going all after European questions. How come a southern part of Italy is in Italy? So they will try to redirect the territories. How come Silesia gets into Poland and etc. So it all depends on how horrific we would be seen by them. Not as strong as we. How they would think that we are strong. Because unfortunately, European analytics in Great Britain and America, they are quite weak now. They degraded now 20 years just to the lowest level possible.
It's been great talking.
Excellent. Mr. Delyagin, thank you so much for your knowledge, your expertise.
Thank you much.
It's
Thank you much.
an honor and a pleasure. George, thanks for your absolutely spectacular insights as usual. And our audience in Russia and internationally, here we are at the test studios for the National Unity Club. See you next time. Thank you very much.